Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and this video won't win me any friends. In fact, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably going to walk away from this and be unsubscribing and disliking en masse, and that's entirely fine. But I think as we get to the end of 2020, we get to the end of the decade, we get to the end of the Skywalker saga, I want to just make this abundantly clear. When it came to YouTube, especially in the last 2 years, the Rise of Skywalker absolutely, fundamentally, stood no chance. There was no chance that this movie was going to be treated with any modicum of respect or any modicum of giving it the benefit of the doubt or hoping for the best. When you start having the leaks coming out and the leaks were treated as being the be all end all, and yeah, ultimately the leaks ended up being more truthful than not, that doesn't take away from the overall experience. I know because I read the leaks and I saw the movie a couple days ago and I still had a lot of fun with it. But the movie still had no absolute chance on YouTube. And the reason why was because it's too profitable to crap on the movie than it is to prop it up. And let me explain why. So 2 years ago when Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi came out, it broke the fandom. It did, and with good reason. The movie was bad. The movie was just bad. And The Rise of Skywalker is a movie that takes aim directly at The Last Jedi on a couple of occasions, and it nukes it out of orbit. It's actually pretty funny to watch. And one of the reasons why we're seeing the negative response to the film on Rotten Tomatoes is because Rian Johnson is deeply embedded with a lot of the access media in Hollywood. That is a well-known, well-established thing. And so what we're seeing here is a lot of the protection of their friend, which, look, in essence, I get it, but they're using a platform that is looked at as being the be-all, end-all of how to disseminate how the average person or critic feels about a specific property. I mean, look at Joker, for example. Joker came out of Venice with a near 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then as the access media got their hands on it and started running fear and hyperbole, that number started to drop and it rested up somewhere around the mid-60s. It lost its certified fresh rating and it just went down to being fresh, never mind the fact that it's one of the better films of the year, and it is a very, very, very high earner on a very small budget, comparatively speaking. And when you look at something like The Rise of Skywalker had the impossible task. JJ Abrams had the impossible task of attempting to, well, subvert expectations that were so hella dashed in the last movie and try to find a way to finish telling the story that he wanted to tell, starting with The Force Awakens in 2015. The mistake here was that he, when offered the role of being the director of the whole trilogy, turned it down. That was his mistake, and one that he tried to rectify here. And like I've said in my spoiler-free review, this should have been 2 movies and not 1. There's a lot of exposition that needed to be spread out, and a lot of things needed time to breathe. That's unfortunately not the world we live in, but that still doesn't even remotely stand up to the amount of crap that was being flung at this movie by people who directly profited off of shit-talking it before anyone had even a chance to see it. People who poisoned the well on a near daily basis for months, because even by one channel's own admission, they did it because it paid the bills. Now, when you look at fan content creators on the internet, I would assume that many of you think that by watching these people that they are in fact fans of the content that they cover, especially when it comes to Star Wars or Marvel movies or things like that. And in many cases, that I would argue is probably true. But I'm going to be real here. When you look at people like the Fandom Menace, and yes, I am saying the Fandom Menace as a whole because I'm basically trying to bring a lot of the content creators into the conversation on this one, because they will openly admit, they will openly tell you that they do this for money. Now, when someone says that, that's fine. That's the game they want to play, and I don't fault them for playing it. But I also tune the hell out of anything they have to say on that subject, because I know that it's not being done from a place of actually wanting to have that conversation. It's not being done from a place of actually wanting to move the needle forward. It has everything to do with just trying to get in the algorithm, play the game, and increase your AdSense earnings. And again, I'm not faulting them for it. They admit that they do it, and that's fine. I do this as a job. I make money talking about this kind of stuff, but the difference between me and them is oftentimes I care about what I'm talking about. I don't just keep making crap up over time or trying to go as hard and fast as I can on something and take it to the absolute extreme simply because it pays the bills. And when I say that, I'll be honest with you. I have talked to Andre from Midnight's Edge. I hit him up one day after he put a video about the Rise of Skywalker that I felt was just kind of like unnecessarily critical. Like I kind of like, this is unlike you. It felt very kind of beyond the pale for what to expect from them. And this was months ago, by the way. They've only ramped it up since then. I mean, any little thing to crap on the movie, they've absolutely run with. And this is not something that I'm just saying. A lot of other content creators are saying it as well as a lot of other fans that have been telling me, like, I just don't watch them anymore because that's all they do is crap on this movie. Now, Andre told me when I talked to him about this that it pays the bills. In Andre's case, I'll give him the slight benefit of a doubt only because, well, he's admitted time and time again, he's not a Star Wars fan. He didn't grow up with it. He doesn't have any real connection to it. And this to him is just the business. And like, fine, I get it. He will at least admit that he's not a fan. He doesn't sit there with Star Wars memorabilia behind him or Star Wars, merchandise on his head. He doesn't sit there wearing Star Wars clothes and talk about how bad Star Wars is while saying fuck Lucasfilm, right? That's Geeks and Gamers because that's what he does. That's what Jeremy does. That's what a lot of these people do. When you look at the idea of Rise of Skywalker and the fact that JJ Abrams saw the backlash, Kathleen Kennedy saw the backlash to The Last Jedi, and they attempted to course correct. And they're not even being given the benefit of the doubt in attempting to course correct by listening to the fans, which is the Fandom Menace for the last 2 years has been, why won't you listen to the fans? Why don't you listen to us? Well, they did. And you're still not happy because you've painted yourself into a corner narratively. Josh from Den of Nerds said that. He's 100% accurate. And you can't like the movie. It could literally be the greatest thing ever, but you still would not find these channels talking about it in the appropriate fan-based way. You wouldn't. They would find anything to hate on because that's their work. That's their job. That's how they make the money that they make. So why would they be, when they are financially incentivized to do the exact opposite, find out anything that's even good? And it's not just Geeks and Gamers. It's Nerdrotic, it's John Talks, it's Doomcock, it's all of these people. Mecha Random, all of these people do it. And if you've noticed over the span of the year, it really increased. It's really kind of ramped itself up. Anything possible to talk about, to trash, is what they do. And I want to give a specific example of this, actually, because I feel like I have to at this point. So Doomcock ran a video talking about these test screenings, and everyone treated it as fact. Bounding Into Comics treated it like it was real. They ran with it as if it was a real thing. Entirely debunked, entirely false. There's no way it's ever happened. Anyone who has any insider information at Lucasfilm or knows anything about Star Wars knows that they've never done public test screenings. They've done internal screenings. JJ has admitted that. We all know that. But they're not giving it an audience score. People aren't getting up and walking out. I mean, none of that was real. So my buddy, Louis Lecca, who runs nukethefridge.com and nerdreport.com, reached out to his contacts, his sources, to get confirmation of this. He came out and he disproved it, knowing who he could talk to. Not only that, but Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, who has been one of the people leaking all of this information, and he was right on the money, also came out and said that this wasn't true, that this wasn't real, that this stuff was fake, that was fake news. He came out and said that. But people still ran with this idea that a dude who hides behind a mask and alters his voice to an extent is more truthful than people who live and operate and work in LA and are part of what you might want to call access media and know people. And I say that when it comes to Louis Lecca here, because this is him from the other night. This is him at the world premiere of The Rise of Skywalker. This is him again, right there, hanging out. World premiere, Rise of Skywalker. Now, a person who doesn't know anything, who doesn't have sources, who doesn't have access, who doesn't have intel, would not be at that event. And the reason why I bring that up is when he countered Doomcock's entire approach, when he countered that entire false narrative, that fake news, he was met with a response from Geeks and Gamers who basically called him a racist, who was trying to discredit him by smearing him, and then came out and said, well, you just hate white men. Louis is a conservative Cuban living in Los Angeles. That's like the furthest thing from the truth. So when you, again, look at the data provided by people who are in the know, who live there, and it gets hit with a massive disinformation campaign by the person who effectively leads the Fandom Menace. And again, look, you want to argue that point with me, Jeremy, we've already gone over it. You and I both know you're one of the leaders, if not the main guy. You have got a situation here where, well, they owe him an apology. They owe him an apology for what they said. They tried to smear his name, smear his credit. And here he is with photo evidence being at the world premiere. So if a person who didn't have any inside information, didn't have that info, and he was out there spreading lies and making things up, how would he get to the world premiere? Just saying. I mean, you got to really stop for a second and ask yourself, are these people telling you the truth? They're not. That's the simple fact of it. They're not. And even when it comes to Jason Ward himself, right? The guy who was dropping all these leaks, constantly dropping these leaks, been dropping them since The Force Awakens. This is a guy who has got his hand on the pulse of Star Wars. He knows what's going on behind the scenes and probably making no friends in Lucasfilm as he's doing this. He's spoiling out there left and right. Well, guess what? This is him. Tuesday, 7 p.m. show at the studio. He says, I'm happy. Him in front of the Rise of Skywalker. There he is right there rocking I believe that's a Force Awakens shirt that he's got on. And we can see it's at 9:37 p.m. December 17th, 2019. And I know that because he tweeted that and I was trying to get a hold of him because I was at the 2 p.m. show earlier in the day because I flew to LA to check it out and I had a blast. And I talked to a lot of other critics who were there and a lot of people who were at the world premiere the night before. And yeah, every one of them was laughing at the Fandom Menace and laughing at Doomcock because this is a person who pushes fake information, fake news for profit. So when I talk about the idea of the Rise of Skywalker ever once standing a chance on YouTube, there was no way. There was no way it would ever have a chance, especially as things started to ramp up and any little thing was blown out of proportion as a way to simply, create a disinformation campaign to keep people ignorant and then to also fatten the pocketbook. And I'm sorry, I just don't think that is something that should be rewarded. If you see the movie and you don't like the movie, by all means, have your thoughts and have your opinions. That's how I view it. I'm seeing the movie again in a couple hours. I'm seeing it with some other friends up in Seattle, and I'm looking forward to watching it again because I enjoyed my first viewing and I'm not too sure if I'm going to like it even more on the second, or I'm going to dislike it now that maybe some of the haze has worn off. And either way, I'm going to let you guys know when I see it. But the proof of my commentary is absolutely 100% in the pudding. I made my way to Los Angeles from Washington to go and see the movie. And I'm going to go see it again tonight with other people who are very aware of the leaks, who haven't seen it and are poised to hate it, and to walk into that lion's den for that kind of fun conversation. Because this is how you should be approaching this kind of commentary. You have to put up or shut up. And in the case of a lot of the people that run on these theories and these speculations, they don't actually care about the stuff that they talk about because it's not in their best interest to actually give a crap. Like I said, they wanted JJ and they wanted Kathy to listen to the fans. Well, they did a lot actually. And they tried to finish up 2 movies worth of story into one long movie that still needed to be about another hour in order to fit in all the exposition that they needed to get into. This was a mistake. That they handled it the way that they did was a mistake, but they still at the end of the day tried. They still at the end of the day tried to do right by the fans. And instead of being rewarded for basically listening to them, they're still being utterly crapped on, lied about, smeared, defamed through disinformation campaigns designed to keep you ignorant. That is my problem with the Fandom Menace. People out there clapping, we won, we did it, we won, we the Fandom Menace won. No, you didn't. What did you win? You got what you wanted, but you're still not happy. You're like that child on Christmas with the insanely giving parents, but you're still not happy. You're still not happy with what you got because you never will be. You're not invested. It's not in your best interest to be that way. For one, I'm happy that the Skywalker saga is over. I am glad that there is no movie for 3 years because this type of absolutely insane, toxic fan base, because that's what they are. Make no mistake about that. That is exactly what they are. Have nothing now. We have one more episode of The Mandalorian, which is pretty universally loved, and then nothing for 3 years. Nothing. So they've got nothing. But the question then becomes, the key then becomes, watch to where they turn their attention next. Black Widow is on the horizon. Oof. Scarlett Johansson is anti-Trump. Oof. What kind of things are going to come out from that? And the reason why I pose that question to you at the end of this rant is because I want you to pay attention to what they say next. Because the further we get away from this stuff and the more they change their focus onto another target, we'll see the same type of tactics, the same kind of approach, and the same kind of disinformation campaigns. These are people that have found the best possible way to make money off of you is to keep you in the dark. And as fans, we should never want to be in the dark. We should want to be entertained with good stories. Now, does the Rise of Skywalker succeed on that particular front? It has its problems, but we have to also give it the benefit of the doubt because of what came before it, which is why they went back and did everything they did to try to make it right. They just missed it on a few key areas. Like I've said, when it comes to the Rise of Skywalker, the leaks, while true, mean nothing. You still need to see the movie for yourself. You still need to make up your mind yourself. And if you are a part of the Fandom Menace and you vehemently disagree with what I'm saying here, that's fine. I am happy that you disagree with me. But I'm going to leave you guys with this, and it's a slight spoiler for the Rise of Skywalker without giving anything specifically away. There was a particular jab aimed at what I believe is the Fandom Menace at the end of the movie. When all hope is lost, when they feel that they're done, the resistance is at the end of their rope, their friends are dying, all of a sudden hope arrives. And when the question comes in from one of the commanders, wait, I thought the resistance was done. They don't have the resources. Another commander just simply says, they're just people. And that got an audible clapping when my screening, because it goes to show you that the average person can in fact push back against bullshit. They can push back against what they perceive to be the bad guys. And that, in my mind right there, was an exact magnifying glass or a mirror held up to the Fandom Menace. You guys are not the good guys here. You complained for 2 years to get your way. You got it, but it's still not good enough. And as a result of that, what we're seeing are a lot more people standing up and pushing back against you. We're seeing normal, average Star Wars fans that are sick and tired of not being able to express being Star Wars fans because they are not happy with the way that you guys had come after them. And there's a lot of commenters that do that. Trust me, I read my comment section all the time. I get called every name in the sun because I like the movie, right? That's how it works. They try to shame people into staying quiet, so then it seems like they're the loudest voice in the room and by default correct. Not anymore. People are enjoying this movie and they're speaking up about this movie. They're enjoying that it took shots at The Last Jedi, that is trying to retcon what went wrong 2 years ago. And I think a lot of them are getting sick and tired of you. So feel free to run back to your echo chamber to respond to this privately or in live streams or to not contact me directly or anything else, because that's what's going to happen. But you know I'm right. You know that I'm 100% right. When there's been no apology made, no course correction made, no one coming out and saying, we got this wrong, but still finding ways to double down and attacking the movie in general, it just proves you got nothing. And at the end of the day, everyone sees it. This is the last video I'm going to make addressing the Fandom Menace because at this point, I'm just done. I've been holding on to this for a while now. I just wanted to put my thoughts out there because this is not just me saying this. There are a lot of people out there that very much want this kind of conversation to happen because they're tired. They're tired of the negativity, of the lies, of the attacks, of the bullshit. They're tired of it. And they're starting to speak up. And if you do feel that way, if you feel like I do, make a video. Make a video. Talk about it. Tweet about it. Speak up. Because that's what you need to do. If you're a Star Wars fan, voice it. Now is the best time to be a Star Wars fan in a long time. Mandalorian is awesome. Jedi Fallen Order is amazing. Star Wars Resistance is really solid. There's some good Star Wars comics right now, as well as some good books. And The Rise of Skywalker is fun, if nothing else. It's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. So after years of feeling maybe ashamed of it or not feeling you could say anything, now's the time. Speak up. Trust me. We got your back. I'll see you guys later. Be sure to like the video or dislike it. I don't care. Have a good one, guys. Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you. Hey, thank you very much for watching the video. If you want to keep the conversation going, and if you made it this far, you clearly do, come on in and join the Discord. Link is in the video description. Can't wait to see you there. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.